Hi, my name's Andrew.
And my name is Thomas.
And today we're off to a museum in
Hendon,
which is an RAF museum in London. Now, we were getting a bit confident going on the trains a couple of years ago. Something I used to be quite scared of. So,
because what if I felt sick and I needed to wash home?
What if you were unwell? What if I couldn't get on the train? What if we got left on the train? There were so many things I was scared of, but I got confidence. We had a really good carer, and we had been to the centre of London loads, and the London Eye, and all the normal things. I wanted to do something different. And you love aeroplanes, so we Googled it, and there's an RAF museum in London, and it's got something like 200 aeroplanes, 5 houses.
151 aeroplanes.
Still loads, but it's one of those things where you have to really know what you're doing when you're going to somewhere like that. So,
because what if you get lost?
Well, the closest train station doesn't have a lift, so that's the first thing. And if there's a train station that doesn't have a lift, the train services people will pay for a taxi from the next accessible train station. Okay, so that's fine. The next one along, you get a taxi back. And when we're in the taxi, we speak to the taxi driver and we say, "Oh, would you mind dropping us here? It's on the way." And he lets us off at the museum. So, yeah, there's a little bit of video of how we got there and what the museum's like.
It was a very nice taxi driver.
It's a very nice taxi driver. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the middle. Oh, Grandad's nearly fallen over straight away. I'll put that in here.
Hello, Tom. Hello, Tom.
Filming.
I know, I can see a red light.
Yeah, so we can go there.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
No problem.
It's way out that way.
Let's go to the middle.
There you are.
okay?
Yeah,
So, okay, for a pocket.
Yeah, it's alright.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't need
Brilliant, thank you very much.
So, we're all in? We're all good?
It's a bit of a...
Do you want me to go forward at all? Sure.
Oh, that's a problem. That's it. Yeah, well done.
So, slight touches there. And
How long is
how
it?
much leg room we got down there?
I'm okay. Oh, good.
How long is it?
15 minutes.
Tom's got his feet up. Oh, right.
So I can see how this one's got good headroom.
Yeah, no, you're
Yeah.
right.
See, the problem with the Vito taxi is there's more space in the back, but I'm completely double over. So I'll be like,
of the roof?
yeah,
Because the floor.
yeah. There we are. Okay, Tom, you can pop out.
Kids, buy a nice ice cream in there, mate, alright? Get really nice.
Well, we got there safely, and
Yeah.
loads and loads of aeroplanes coming up in part 2. Now, this trip we've been on probably 4, maybe 5 times. We've done it with every carer. We did it with Lara, we did it with Nicholas, we did it with Mummy and Uncle Michael once, and then we took our parents. So my parents, your grandparents, both granddads, so Grandad and Pops.
Yeah.
Now, they're both quite technical people.
And
they're both
they're fascinated of planes
fascinated with engines and workings out and all that kind of thing.
and how the engines worked. They even found a friend.
They even found a friend in the museum. Now, obviously, we've been there a few times before. When we go to museums, we tend to rush around. We don't tend to hang around, read stuff. It's quite
Just having
fast paced.
fun.
And especially in that museum, it's like, oh, let's go and look for the German aeroplanes. Tom loves spotting the German planes.
And I want to go see in the cockpits and stuff.
Some of them you can see in the cockpits, which got some photos of, which was really cool. But so we got there with my dad and your granddad and your pops, and we got there and we're like, right, and we're kind of leading the way. We've been there before, and it's all working. They're being helpful. They're lovely, lovely people.
And the first aeroplane that I saw was the jet, so I said to Dad, can I go look in the cockpit? So I went up the stairs and looked in the cockpit.
And it was a big seaplane, wasn't it? The first one we looked at with them. It was a giant plane. And we realised, and they're kind of fussing around and reading stuff. They'd gone in and come out of the plane. And then we kind of scooted around to see the rest of the museum, came back and they were still at the first plane. I looked at my watch. It's like they'd been an hour at the first aeroplane. And Thomas was right. They'd met another man of a similar age. They'd met a friend in the museum. And I'm
How
like,
weird.
there's another 180 planes to go. We've only got 2.5 hours in the museum before we have to start getting back. So, then we kind of tried to shoo them on a little bit, but then we left them alone because they liked doing what they were doing. They spent probably half an hour looking at an engine. And
Who would do that?
well, they had a good time, and they need to go back because obviously they only saw a fraction of it. But we then found it was quite funny to try and sneak up on them. So we'd do a complete circuit and then come around and be like filming Pops and Grandad in the museum. So that's coming up in part 2. Hope you enjoy that, and we'll see you
See
at the end.
end. Next year in February, we can come. We can come here for my mum's birthday. She might like it. 40 years
So do you think
old.
Mummy would want her specialist birthday, her 40th birthday, to be here? Do you think? Well, if Mummy likes airplanes, there's plenty to see.
Medical. Guys, we're gonna go up and look at the inside of a real jet. So, we're gonna look inside the pilot in the cockpit.
Yeah.
Surprise!
Back into the truth. It's not the best thing back into it.
I think it's an atomic bomb.
You've been in the Chinook yet, John? Worried about touching the sides, but yeah. Cool. Yeah, no, done them a few times.
Okay, it's on. Thank you.
Well, it was good fun. We went with Grandad and Pops, wasn't it? Now, there was one adventure we went on there. We went with Nicholas once, and things didn't quite go to plan.
Why?
Do you remember?
No.
So we got the train, the lift wasn't broken, so we then got the second train, and we're on the second train, and we get off at the station that we're meant to get off at, which is the next one along the line, so we have to then get a taxi back. Now, the rail service have been told, I've phoned up, and they said they would book a taxi. We get to the train station, it's cold, because we only normally go to museum trips during the winter, and summertime we go to the great outdoors, and we're always doing things
At the farm.
Yeah, the farm and air shows and stuff. But in the wintertime, we get on a train, go to a museum, it's warm, we're inside. So so there we are, it's raining, it's cold, and there's no taxi. And I speak to the people at the train station, and I say, well, have you seen a taxi? We got one booked via the accessibility people, and they weren't unhelpful, but they weren't helpful. They went, no, it was in one, it's nothing to do with us. And we went out there, tried to ring the accessible number, and we were in a queue for nearly 20 minutes. And I'm like, got to get going, you're getting cold. I was worried you're going to get a cough or something, or a chest infection.
Okay, coronavirus.
Well, coronavirus wasn't around back then. But then
But you can still catch it.
a taxi turns up. So I hang up the phone. I say, great, you're our taxi. And he's like, no, but I can be your taxi. It's like, right, okay, well, we're going to this museum, the RAF Museum.
In Hendon.
In Hendon. And we get in, and I'm watching the meter go up and up and up. And I'm saying to him, can we get a receipt at the end? Because I'm going to need to claim this back from the accessibility people, because they would normally pay for that journey because there's no lift at the closest station. And he goes, yeah, okay, but I only take cash. And I'm looking at my watch in my wallet, and I'm like, I haven't got enough cash. I said, I've just kind of run out of money. And the taxi driver stopped, and he said, well, I can't let you out here. I was looking at my phone. It was like a 20-minute walk from there. He said, it's not a great part of London. I'll take you the rest of the way. And he turned the meter off. We just paid him what we had. Which was really nice of him. I offered to pay him afterwards. I said, give me your bank details and I'll send you the money. But when I go out on those adventures, I don't really take cash with me. So that was good. But it shouldn't have happened. So I rang the accessibility people. I put my little earpods in, going around a museum, and I'm on hold for ages. Like half an hour later, I answered the phone and said, look, this shouldn't have happened. I want to make sure that the return taxi is correct. And I want a taxi's details so I can ring them to make sure. I'm not going to be left here. We have got no more cash anymore. And eventually, the reception was really bad. And we'd stopped for lunch. So I said to Nicholas, because I was getting quite angry at this point, and I said to Nicholas, don't go anywhere. I'd never like leaving you in a museum with the carer. I need to go to the middle of the museum where the reception's best. Stay here and eat lunch. It's a busy place. No one's around, but do not leave the table. And I went off, did a phone call, had the argument with the accessibility people. They gave me the taxi's phone number. I phoned the taxi. It had been booked wrong. So I corrected it, and it was all going to be okay. And I come back, and you weren't at the table. And I was like, oh, no. Okay, one instruction, do not move from the table.
Why?
Because I was scared about, just everything was going wrong that day, so I wanted you to stay there, eat your lunch.
But successfully, I did eat all my lunch.
You ate all your lunch, and then you and Nicholas were just round the corner playing or something. So it wasn't. He didn't leave you, so it was fine. Did the rest of the day, and then got the train home. Got the taxi, picked us up. The train home. It was all fine, but it kind of showed you that you have to really know what you're doing. And if that had been the first time we'd done that adventure and it had gone wrong, I may not have wanted to have done it again.
Why?
Because I was scared. You feel quite vulnerable when you're left somewhere the taxi doesn't turn up, and that's your main mode of transport, and was an area I didn't know in London, so I couldn't just jump on a bus and work out the route to get there. But we've been there 4 times, it's all gone fine. We're going to go again as soon as coronavirus is over, because
we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, Pops and Grandad have got plenty more airplanes to see.
They've got like 100 more to see.
Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed our video, and we'll see you on the next adventure.
Vroom, vroom.
Off we go. Oh,